Beyond the landscape of ancient India's ever-changing ideas of hygiene, there was a litany of do's and don'ts in ancient Sanskrit law books and digests. Today, we'll be looking at some of those do's and don'ts in our Bumblebee Facebook exclusive, The 10 Filthy Hygiene Practices of Poor Men from Ancient India. Starting off with the concept of obligated uncleanliness and its origins in birth and death. So, known as the Dharma Shastras, they encompassed a vast body of religious and civil law, but also ideas in the right course of conduct in various situations from birth until death. Both the beginning and the end of life were thought to be sources of impurity for family and relatives, and to become free of that impurity relied on a cornucopia of things. So, for example, elaborate differences were constructed between the impurity found at birth versus impurity found at death. With that came differing durations for getting rid of impurity caused by the death, depending upon whether the deceased was young, their gender, and then their caste. Several texts laid down varying periods, 10 days, 12 days, 15 days, a month, for impurity among the Brahmins, the Kshitras, Vaishyas, and Sudras, respectively. The lower down you were on the caste ladder, the longer it took to shake off your state of uncleanliness. And for as long as the corpse was not removed from the village, the whole village was in a state of impurity during its proximity. There could be no eating, no Vedic study, and no ritual sacrifice. And in order to hustle that corpse on out, you're gonna have to be the most uncleanly of all. Our next segment, the untouchables. So, the Chandalas, translated to the untouchables, were those men meant to deal with corpses, dirt, dead material, a duty that deemed them so impure and unclean that they were expected to live outside the village, and their very touch or gaze was considered polluting. Purity rules were as much about isolating defiling substances as about segregating and being able to cast segments of people who could be forced, supposedly upon instructions from heaven delivered by Brahmins, into grossly underpaid menial labor. That being said, let's look over what substances were pollution scaled. So, we know dirt, corpses, and dead animals. Those are deemed polluting by the ancient Indians. Things that made you untouchable to work with or unclean to be around. Some of the other top of the pyramid polluting materials were extrata, so human excrement, urine, human seed, blood, marrow, liquor, and intoxicants. Meanwhile, dogs, village swine, the pigs, not the men, cats and cat pee, earwax, nails, lamb, eye crusties, and sweat were thought to be polluting, but not gnarly, top-notch polluting. It's like second in the pyramid. Things that were never impure, so at the bottom, were articles exposed for sale in the market, such as rice and barley, alms collected when walking from house to house on the road, the mouth of a woman at times of dalliance, and the meat of animals seized or killed, even if by dogs, untouchables, or raptors. I know what you're thinking. Dead animals are corpses and dead material, and rice and barley is collected by the lowest caste, therefore it's touched by untouchables. Technically, these things should be unclean in nature, but they weren't. Ideology was items or bodies befouled through contact with untouchables could be purified by washing or rubbing with water, clay, and cow dung, which, along with cow piss, was thought by the upper caste Hindus to have purification powers. So, if someone you don't like touch something, it's fine, just wash. Let's discuss washers versus wipers. So, human excrement, on the other hand, does not have purification properties. In fact, people were told to answer the call of nature as far from human habitation as possible. All bowel activity aided by gravity was recommended to be carried out on ground level with dry twigs, leaves, grass, or loose earth underneath. Most ancient people were wipers, but Indians, they were always washers, told to clean first with some lumps of earth or grass or rocks before washing their back doors and going about their day. That being said, let's put ourselves into some hairy situations. First being root removal. So, copper razors didn't arrive in India until around 3000 BC. Before that, men as well as women were shaving off unwanted hair growth in a few different ways. Classically, the use of sharpened stones made it really easy to trim locks, but they predominantly grew their hair out. But when it came to body hair, they weren't about to sit here and painstakingly pick them out one by one like the Greeks. The Ayurveda specifies in detail the processed concoctions and creams used in ancient India by women and men that when applied on the desired location of the body, the hair apparently fell off automatically. One recipe required quite a bit of pre-planning and work, and it was to pound together the dried fruits of avalakatati and dried fruits of pimpali. Soak this mixture in the milky latex of Nivadanga cactus. It's kind of like a stretchy, jiggly, whitish color. It's very appropriate looking, to say the least, but the recipe says if this is made correctly and the compounds applied to the desired area, the hair from that area will fall off. Best of luck. But that's not my only recipe. The next segment is for eliminating grays. A very famous rejuvenation treatment called Kaya Kalpa and was highly practiced, bringing the body back into balance through purification and nourishment that helped attain optimal metabolic state for the health and recovery. This practice is said to help make a person look young, bring about a change in the color of hair and texture of the skin, improve eyesight, so forth. The recipe says to take equal quantities of neem tree leaves, maca daisy leaves, Monday leaves, gurdandi leaves, and vulva leaves. Once the nature walk's done, you're gonna lay them out flat, dry all 5 ingredients in the shade, and then you're gonna powder this mixture. To quote, take internally 2 pinches of this powder twice a day. While the subjects under this treatment, the diet should mainly consist of milk and rice only. Quite soon, the person will look younger, the skin will be lustrous, and the gray hair will even turn black. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with how good rice and milk are for you. While talking hair, this recipe helps with delousing. But at what cost? You guys will understand pretty quick from its ingredients what's so worrisome about this recipe compared to others. So, to rid yourself of lice and nits, it's recommended to tie the head with a piece of cloth that's been dipped in the juice of piper betel leaves, a type of pepper tree, and pine leaves, to which has been added liquid murk. Lice and nits would be finished off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure tying liquid murk soaked in a rag to your head would kill just about anything, including the bugs, and your hair follicles, and maybe you. Thankfully, you can always look to the next segment for an answer to your now burning head, and that's scalp scrubbing. So, while in India, shakyati pods, retha berries, and hibiscus leaves and flowers are widely used for hair oiling, cleaning, or scenting, ancient Indians also used different muds and clays to wash their hair as a natural cleanser. These substances were mixed with water to form a paste, which was then applied to the hair and scalp. Sometimes the paste had added florals, or herbs, or cow dung, because it's purifying. The clay or mud would absorb all the excess oil and dirt from the scalp, and it could be rinsed out afterwards. And remember, if you wanted to get rid of dandruff, just follow this recipe. Pound poppy seeds into a very special powder, and then mix it with milk and apply to your scalp. But since we've been doing all this talking, next up is questionable lip balm. So it's actually insanely important to note that the ancient science of cosmetology is believed to have originated in Egypt and India, with the earliest records of cosmetic substances and their application dating back to circa 2500-1550 BC to the Indus Valley civilization. India even had the world's first ever beautician, and quite a few of these recipes I've listed for you guys are ones that she had coined. This next one is said to help with those dreadful dry skin you can get on your yapper, and it goes as follows. Crack lips, beside being painful, spoil the beauty of the face. If the rind of bell fruit is dried, powdered, and mixed into a woman's breast milk, the paste thus prepared is applied to the cracked lips. Within 10 days, the cracking will stop and the cracks will heal. So remember, breast milk, rural Indian fruit, 10 days, boom, you got lip balm. And last on our list is lighten up scrub. So those who had the palest complexions in India were those who did not work under the sun all day long. Same thing with everywhere else, upper caste women more often than not. So, like the Europeans, the Greeks, the Romans, Chinese, Japanese, and everyone else on earth apparently, they too attempted to be the palest version of themselves to depict a higher sense of self. The following paste used to be applied to the body to make the skin a shade or two lighter or to give it a natural glow, and after hearing it you can decide if this much work or certain ingredients would be worth it. So, firstly, you're gonna pound together the root of costus, sesame seeds, and the leaves of cyrus, the leaves of an Indian beech tree, and the wood of Himalayan cedar, and the wood of Indian barberry. You're gonna roast this mixture between 2 dried cakes of buffalo dung, which as they burn become crumbly and turn white. This whiteness will help the powder, and you're gonna take it out of the oven and grind everything down into a fine dust, which you can mix into oils or lotions. To quote, if the paste made from this compound is applied to the body for 3 consecutive days, you should ideally start looking like a ghost. And that is the end of another Bumblebee exclusive. I sure hope you enjoyed. Take some time to like, share, and of course, comment down below.